Welcome back to episode 31 and our first for 2021. We've been having a good time laughing at our same jokes.
Daggy clothes. Happy New Year, everybody. And look, it's a good reflection time right now. You'll have lots on your plate. You're getting back down to business. We've called this episode Back Down to Business. And we're looking at how we would perhaps prioritise next steps. There's a lot on the agenda. It could be scary. It doesn't need to be. We're going to talk about a way of getting your priorities in order today.
First term's always busy, but first term in the year of a new strategic plan, even more so. And there is a lot on. So let's jump into it, James.
Sure. So here's one I prepared earlier, Steve. And here's the thing. You will disagree with this probably. And people out there, principals out there, will disagree with my personal prioritisation system. So let me talk about what I'm thinking is important. I'm wearing my principal's hat at the moment, as will you be, and they're different. But let's talk at a deeper level about how you actually make sense of competing priorities, because I think there's a real skill and a trick and a hack to being your own personal well-being around this. So I've got my principal's hat on. If you can bring up my foundation thing is that student learning is on track. It's bedded down. And I'm talking here about reading groups, I'm talking about timetables, organisation, the RFF
Subject
roster.
selection. And look, James, you'll get no argument from me. If you're putting student learning as the foundation of what we're doing, that's the only reason schools open their door.
Yeah, look, and I think if you're letting other things distract from down to business, ahead of that, probably that's not the best move at this point in time. If you can go to the next one there, Steve. All right, so you've already alluded to the fact that this is a planning year. So we've done a situational analysis, but probably in most schools, the strategic improvement plan is in a state of flux. So I'm guessing on top of having everything bedded down, I'm going out to my staff and my community with messaging about the importance of learning, what we're doing in the interim, because we haven't really committed that to paper yet until we publish the strategic improvement plan. But I'm going to be saying, look, we're doing reading groups every morning. Look, we're doing, the staff has adopted this approach for numeracy sessions pedagogy. Sorry, you want to talk?
I absolutely do. At this point, I want a relentless focus on attendance. We've got to kick it off from the very first day, and while we keep our focus there and get that messaging in place very early, I think it's really important. We've also got the COVID intensive learning support that has to be in place by week 6, so we can't wait for the school plan. So I would see it sitting in these two foundation pieces you put up.
No argument from me.
The top.
All right, so let's move to the next one. We spent 6 months guiding people through the situational analysis.
I've got to say, James, right at the moment, directors are doing the feedback loop, going through, having a look at the process schools have used, and they're really, really very strong. They are the best I've seen in my time as a director, and we're probably about 90% finished.
Yeah, well, that's good to know, but I'm just saying if there's final touches there, that's probably the next thing I'd be looking at, because chronologically you can't move into the strategic improvement plan until that's nailed down. Which leads me to the next step. Now, I've put this fairly far up the triangle there. It's not due to the end of term, so I'm not saying race into it, but I'm saying be planned. How are you going to fill all the boxes in Sparrow? You're sure about your strategies? Are you lining up your PL against your school context? All of those things. So I'm saying that would be, as soon as I've got the bottom of the triangle bedded down, that's where I'd be turning my attention to.
And we probably have a slight disagreement here, because I would have dropped the annual report down underneath the school improvement plan, only because I think it strengthens your situational analysis, and I'd be looking at what work I had already in place for my SA to inform my annual report. But at the end of the day, both those two are due at the end of term. So
I'd say tomato, potato. One will feed the other. So if you did the AR first, your situational analysis and your SIP would be strong. And I'm saying vice versa. I guess what I'm saying is work smart there.
Yes.
Because there's a little bit of duplication, and that's fine. They're on different platforms, but If you keep things so that you can cut and paste them and so on, that would be my way forward. Anyway, look, that's my take. I keep interrupting you today. This is new assertive, James. Do you want to say something before we move on to the next topic?
Only that you've called out the big rocks, but there are other very important matters that have still got to be dealt with, and we can have a look at those in a moment. And that's part of helping principals.
So this is my personal opinion about where I'd be starting. You will have a different one. Let's talk about a strategy for conceptualising priority and for helping you to navigate competing priorities.
And James, we've been talking about this one and using the important versus urgent.
It's an oldie but a goodie, but by golly, if you don't use it, here's 10 good reasons to use it.
I've got to say, James, every time I pull it out and use it, it helps me refine my focus, and then I let it slip again.
The only other tool I think, and you use this other one a lot, that I think is equally influential in strategizing is the lotus.
Yeah, I do like lotus diagram. Yeah. But let's pull up Eisenhower's
All right,
box.
So let's conceptualize this. Things come in either to your in tray or walk through the front door of your office, and we kind of group them all together as stuff I got to do.
Yep.
But the first conceptual framework is to categorise stuff I got to do as to being either important or urgent.
Why don't we bring the quadrants up and have a look? And here we are. We've got our quadrants, James. So
all right. So we're going to categorise things into the 4 boxes. So there's top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right, and what puts them there is a combination of their urgency and their importance. So the top quadrant there, things that are very urgent and very important. Now I've used this to do my triangle before, and you saw what was there: bedding down student learning, timetables.
But a great example of this one is a child's behaviour has led to a suspension. It's very urgent and it's very important. We've got to deal with it with immediacy.
There's ethical and procedural elements to this. That's what sort of ticks all those boxes.
And it's very easy to get caught working purely in that quadrant.
Yes.
Our next one is not urgent, but very important.
So I've used the traffic light system, as you can see. This doesn't need to be done right now, but because of its importance, it's important for the future. So I'm saying that lots of planning around your SIP is probably sitting in there. It's not due to the end of term, but you're going to prioritise it because of its importance.
And I often think of that quadrant as being the strategic quadrant. Top right can be operational. This one's strategic. Obviously, if you leave it to the last week, it's going to move from the left to the top right.
And my favourite saying from the old days,
half past November.
Don't be doing that in half past November. In this case, half past April.
Yes. So. Okay, we get down into our third quadrant, which is urgent but not important.
Okay, things that are compelling you to act now, you've got to face that off against that previous quadrant. Things that are important for the future but not so urgent. This is where we sometimes blow our own minds. But some things are urgent, but they can be delegated.
Yep. I might just take us off the screen, James, while we bring up the fourth quadrant.
Yep, not urgent and not important. So
that
really,
in a
lot of ways, describing your life, we do have the same jokes. And look, there's so much of this that can just be dumped or delegated to someone else. We need our school leaders with their great school leadership minds working in those top quadrants, important and urgent. That's where we need to be operating.
So to unpack this, James, I'll just bring us back in as not urgent and not important. Okay, James, so just to help our understanding, let's throw a few up and work out which quadrant they're going to go into. First one I'll throw at you is the actual enrolment return, which is due on Monday.
Okay, it's obviously very urgent. It's important for the system for a whole range of reasons. It's probably going to be urgent and important.
Yeah, controls the staffing and the finances.
It's
absolutely
going to be a do now. Yep.
Situational analysis.
Well, we've been working on it. It is very, very important. Obviously, it underpins a quality plan. It's got some time to go, although I would be hustling a little bit. It probably broadly sits that it's not urgent but very important.
Yep.
or depending on how, if you haven't made a big start on it, is urgent and important.
Yes. Okay. The EFPT, which is due on the 26th of February.
These are hard to choose, aren't they? But let's make a call. All right.
Well, I think the 26th of February means it's urgent because there's quite a bit of work involved.
Yes.
Now,
and
here goes your career. How important it is.
It's very important. Okay. So, February, I'm thinking, we've got a month, but then I'm also looking, it's half past February. So,
yes.
So we don't have a month anymore. And, okay, urgent and very important.
Okay, a whole school professional learning plan.
Oh, super important. Super important. So important that it's worth taking the time to get right.
Yep.
Not something we'd be doing a sprint on. It would be something that is in cold, collaborative reflection of all of the things we want to do.
Yep. Not urgent, but very important.
Yep.
Okay, what else have we got, James, that we could put up? The HSC monitoring.
Urgent. Oh, when's it due?
It's due 1 April.
Okay, I'm going to say very important, certainly very important. We need to get through those folders. We need to,
And it's obviously above the horizontal axis. It's up into the important end. Depending on how much you've got done, I think, really describes the urgency for that one.
Okay, so let me just say this. If it's something that's been delegated and you've checked in and all of a sudden it isn't on track, then it's suddenly very urgent and very important. So it's very contextualised, that one.
Okay. The daily attendance return.
Well, it's non-negotiable, isn't it?
Well, it is non-negotiable. It's urgent. How important the return is to the principal? To the system.
To the system, it's hyper important. But it is something that can be delegated. Think about that. That doesn't necessarily need to absorb all of the principal's time in delivering.
Yeah. So I would say from a principal perspective, it probably sits down in urgent but not important.
To that person.
So,
Not. It's very important to the system. We've made that point.
And the number in it is what is absolutely important.
Yeah.
Okay, staff PDPs.
Look, we've got some time up our sleeve to do that. To do those, they are very important. I would say not urgent, but very important at this point in the term.
Our strategic planning, annual school report.
We have time up our sleeve there. Very important, but not urgent. And again, you have capacity. Well, look, let's face it. It's been automated so much that the workload attached to it has diminished a lot, but it presents opportunities for delegation because it's leadership development material, gathering data, gathering information, reflecting on the CEF-SAS. And don't forget that Sparrow can do a subset SAS for your faculty or stage groups now, so it's an extra piece of facility. Okay,
James, as principal, you get many surveys. This one's not from the centre, it's from an external company. Where are you going to place it?
Oh, I'm pretty sure I'm unfortunately going to say it's not urgent and not important. I'll probably dump it and not do it at all.
And that's where we've got to decide, does it need to be completed? If it does it need to be completed by the boss?
And look, 99% of us are, right-thinking, diligent, hard-working people, and we want to please everyone. But there's an important principle here, and that's preserving your capacity to be focused on core business. And so I guess that's what today's been all about.
And James, I think that's just about a good way for us to finish. I think this is a really valid tool. We recognise that principals have a lot on their plate. It's really important that they prioritise not just by the due date but by the relative importance. I'm just going to move us up to not urgent but very important. I think that suits us better. And on that note, we'll say goodbye.
Take care. Happy term 1.